Hello and welcome to the Aaryaman show. I am your host Aaryaman Upasni, and here we are after 2 weeks. Makes me feel like the Undertaker, rising from the dead. But never mind, we are here in the midst of the T20 World Cup that's been going on in USA and West Indies, and what an action-packed tournament it's been for us to discuss. We're going to talk about what happened. We're going to talk about the future fixtures that are in place and what could happen. So, a lot to speak about lined up. So, let's not waste time and dive straight into it. All right, here we are at the end of group stage of the T20 World Cup, and like I said, there was so much action in the group stage itself. I feel a very good positive vibe about the knockout stages that are about to come. Um, I think firstly, the one thing that made this World Cup really special was the inclusion of so many associate nations from ICC, as well as the inclusion of the host countries, obviously, that is USA, Canada, and West Indies. West Indies, who were missing in the 2023 ODI World Cup, they came back in the T20 World Cup, even though as hosts, but they've come back and they've played pretty well. And so have both the hosts, USA being the most impressive, but we'll get to the performances in a bit. Uh, Overall, I think this is a very good exercise by ICC, even though there have been some controversies. There have been some criticisms as to hosting a World Cup in the US and West Indies, of course, but particularly in the US, since they don't really have stadiums in the US other than in Lauderdale in Florida. The pitch that they had in New York, the stadium that they had in New York, was really a very temporary stadium, a temporary pitch that they laid down just a few days ago. I don't know if they're going to keep the pitch as it is or if they're going to change it again. But after that last match in New York, we saw the image where so many bulldozers came to demolish the stands that were built temporarily just for the tournament. But like I said, I think this was a nice initiative. This was a nice exercise into spreading cricket to other nations which are not primarily cricket playing nations. Because I feel usually when you see World Cups, let's say football World Cup, FIFA World Cups, you see 32 teams, playing against each other. Of course, all 32 teams don't play against each other, but you see 32 teams participating in the World Cup. It's really a World Cup because there are countries from all over the place. There are qualifiers happening all over the world. Same happens in ICC, but the World Cups usually are just 10 or 12 teams, and it's the same repetitive teams that we see. Mostly teams from the top 10 or the top 15 ICC rankings, and that's that. Nothing else, nothing new. So really a good initiative. One to get associate nations into the T20 World Cup, as ICC have been doing, and the other was to taking cricket to a place where cricket was unknown. And I mean, of course, we've seen some hilarious articles in the American newspapers about cricket and its scores. I think one such article I remember reading was after the India Pakistan game, where it was written India beat Pakistan 119 to 113. So that was again a bit hilarious. So the World Cup started off with 4 groups, as we know, and the top 2 teams of each groups go into the Super 8s, and then they battle it out in the Super 8s to reach the semis and then the finals. Now, for me, the group of death, it was really Group D, because it had South Africa, it had Bangladesh, it had Sri Lanka, and it had Netherlands, and of course Nepal. Now, Nepal, an associate country, but we've seen South Africa, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Netherlands. Even though Netherlands for the longest time have been an associate nation, they have performed really well in ICC tournaments. And just now, a year back, a few months back actually in the 2023 ODI World Cup. Netherlands performed really well, even though they did not qualify for the semis. They played really well. They played beautiful cricket. So they are to be considered as a dangerous team. So for me, the group of death was honestly Group D, and while there were no surprises as to which two teams came up on top, there were disappointments. The teams coming out of Group D were South Africa and Bangladesh. Sri Lanka, for once, have had a very disappointing phase. It's not just a single tournament; it's a whole phase. Starting probably, I think, in the last year from the Asia Cup throughout the World Cup and continuing to now. So it's been a very unimpressive phase for them, and especially judging the history of Sri Lankan cricket, I think this Sri Lankan cricket squad is at an all-time low, and really, Sri Lankan cricket just degraded a bit after Sangakkara retired, and through time they have degraded more and more. I mean, there are a lot of factors when you talk about why the Sri Lankan team is so. One is obviously probably the skill of the players. Other than that, for quite a while, the entire nation, the Sri Lankan nation, were in a financial crisis. They had civil disruptions going on. So I think these factors affected the squad as well, the selections as well, and leading to a sad but dismal Sri Lankan squad. Netherlands, obviously, you could not expect more of them, but you were hoping that they would do something, that they would have just one miracle game. But unfortunately, the only game where they won was against Nepal. Other than that, they lost against South Africa, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. But Nepal, even though being an associate nation, and obviously it was expected that they won't win any. If they would have won, it would have been an upset. Honestly, for any country, even for Netherlands losing to Nepal, it would have been an upset. But Nepal did come close to causing an upset against South Africa. I mean, what is between South Africa and always having an upset in every tournament? Mostly it's South Africa and Netherlands, but this time it was almost Nepal who were this close to probably drawing the game and maybe, possibly winning in the super over. It was a fabulous game, and honestly, you have to be impressed with Nepal. You know, the way they've played, even though they lost, they played really well. Even in the last game, I think it was against Bangladesh, Nepal restricted Bangladesh to 105. You know, imagine you're an associate nation. One is an associate nation, one is a full time cricket playing nation, and the associate nation bulls are the main cricket playing nation who plays all the three formats of cricket. The team, they've been bowled out for 105, and well, luckily for Bangladesh, Nepal got bowled out for 80, 85, and therefore losing that game by hardly 20 runs, if I'm not wrong. So it was a very positive performance from the Nepal team, in spite of them not winning any. So really impressive. And other than that, I don't think I need to mention the South African squad. The South African players, of course, they have been in brilliant form. We saw that in the IPL as well, and they have kind of continued this form into the group stage as well. They've won all four games, which was expected of South Africa coming into the tournament, considering all of the main players were in really good form and they were playing really good brand of cricket. Bangladesh as well. It was, you had expectations from Bangladesh, but it was as if you wouldn't be surprised if Bangladesh did not qualify for the round of eight. You know, So it's just that the Bangladesh team is a bit inconsistent, I must say. And yeah, it there's just something weird that they do sometimes. Some things they do are so weird that you'll be just, sitting and scratching your head and thinking, why did they do that? So Bangladesh is that kind of team, and they, other than probably all the controversies that they did, uh, one of which was allegedly that a Bangladeshi batsman asked the dugout for a DRS call, just like Smithy did all those years back for Australia. But there was no substantial proof, and this was just an allegation. This did not go anywhere. So we let it be. But in spite of all the controversy that team stirs up, they performed really well. Won three of the four matches, lost only the game against South Africa, but they performed really well against the rest of the group members, and found themselves at the top two. Moving on to Group C. Group C was a surprise. Uh, the reason I say it is Group C had three major players in their group: West Indies, Afghanistan, and New Zealand. The other two, Uganda and Papua New Guinea. Again, associate nations. You really did not expect either of them to win any games except probably against each other. But other than that, you did not expect them to be the rest of the teams in the groups: West Indies, Afghanistan, and New Zealand. But I think the biggest upset coming from this group was New Zealand missing out. And honestly, Afghanistan have been playing so well. They've played so well throughout the group stage, except that one game in West Indies, that you really cannot say anything about the Afghan team. They've just been so very impressive. Uh, West Indies, uh, West Indies might not be the best team when it comes to ODI cricket, but T20 cricket is definitely the forte, considering all of their players play in international T20 leagues. So they have that experience um, of playing T20 cricket, and they are true T20 cricket players to the core. They have that brutal, raw strength uh, that allows them to hit the shots for fours and sixes whenever they want. And well, West Indies have used that, as well as the wit, and they also have a very good bowling attack that has helped them get into the top two of the table. Like I said, the disappointing story of this group has to be New Zealand. Coming into this tournament, New Zealand were definite favorites to not only get into the top eight, but also to the semis, and probably also go on to the finals and maybe win it. But whatever has happened is just the opposite of what we all thought. We thought that probably it would be West Indies and New Zealand that easily go in, and Afghanistan might just lose out on the spot. But instead, it has been Afghanistan, like I said, who have been in superior form. Their batsmen are performing really well, especially Rahmanullah Gurbaz. The Afghan bowling lineup, as we already know, is really good. They have players like Faruqi, like Rashid Khan, who have been performing consistently, who performed really well in the IPL as well. And like I said, for the West Indies players, even the Afghan players, they have been playing in the T20 leagues across the world. So that has helped them in terms of experience in T20 cricket. And again, that has reflected in their performances this year's T20 World Cup. And just look at Afghanistan's game against New Zealand. New Zealand were bowled out for like 75. That was humiliating for the Kiwis. And New Zealand did win too, but again, those were very expected. Papua New Guinea and Uganda, it was a must-win game for them. More like it was a game that they were going to win anyway, unless there was rain or the game gets abandoned. So New Zealand did get 4 points out of those two games, but when it came to the crucial games that really mattered, they failed, and that is why they were eliminated from the group stage itself. Talking about Group B, pretty straightforward group from the start of the tournament. We kind of knew who were the two teams that were going in. Australia and England, obviously the top two teams which were expected to go and which went through as well. The rest of the three teams, Scotland, Namibia, and Oman. But again, this World Cup has so many twists in its tails. It's crazy. The only reason I call there a the only reason I say there is a twist in this group is because of the manner that England have actually qualified for the top eight. England and Scotland actually have the same amount of points. England actually just went on NRR. So, uh, most probably, it was expected that England might go on and win the rest of the three games if they lost to Australia. Australia or England, one of these two teams were going to lose one. And it was expected, even if they lost one game against, let's say, Australia, England was supposed to win the rest of the three games. But here came the rain factor. Rain played a very important role. It gave chances to Scotland, whereas it reduced England's chances of staying in the World Cup. In the game between England and Scotland, which was abandoned, Scotland got that 1 point. They won against Namibia, they won against Oman, but they got that 1 point against England that was very crucial for them to stay alive in the tournament. But England, who needed those 2 points, desperately, they got only one. So, really a story of how the perspectives work. But at the end of the day, it really was England's win against Oman, where they chased the total of, I think, 45 or something in 21 balls. It was the fastest chase in World Cup history, and also the biggest chase in World Cup history in terms of balls remaining. And that really helped England get their net run rate from minus 0.3 to plus 3.6. So that was the one game which really created a difference for England. And meanwhile, Australia, they were pretty comfortable, considering the form that Australia have been since the last year. 2023 was a great year for them. They won 2 ICC trophies, and they pretty much have been invincible. Of course, they've lost games here and there, but when it comes to ICC tournaments, they have been pretty invincible. And even if it seemed that the Australians were on the verge of losing or getting eliminated, they would turn on the gear, they would up the gear, and they would simply amaze the world with the magic. Of course, the peak example being the Glenn Maxwell incident against Afghanistan. But enough talk about the World Cups that have gone. Talking about Australia, like I said, pretty invincible. Pretty expected for them to win all four of the games, and they did so in great fashion. Their first game was against England, and on a pitch which was not really great for batting per se, Australia did a really good job getting to 200. Moving on to Group A, where we saw a lot of action happen. We saw a massive upset happen as well. Honestly, Group A was much more exciting than Group B. I think Group B was the most boring of them all. In spite of England just edging past Scotland there to get into the Super 8s. Group B was a pretty boring group in terms of cricket played, whereas I think Group C and Group A have to be here in terms of cricket that was played by the teams in that group. Going into the World Cup, Group A was pre-decided, but apparently the person who wrote the script for this World Cup had something else in mind. In comes the great team of United States of America. They've never played against India. They've never played against Pakistan. I don't know how many teams they've actually played against, even in the associate nations. Um, Not a very regular cricket playing country. They have a very low rate of fixtures that they play, but the quality of cricket that they have displayed this in this group this year is spectacular. It's honestly very entertaining. While we expected good cricket from India and Pakistan, USA was the team which really came out of syllabus. And honestly, there's a meme I read somewhere about calling the US a team, an Indian team on an H1B visa, because if I'm not wrong, out of those 11 players, 5 or 6 players are Indian or Indian origin, who are in the States for work, and they're playing cricket on the side for USA. Whereas the USA team only has four, 3 or 4 actual natives, people from United States of America who have learned cricket and who are playing in their own cricket team. You also have Muhammad Ali Khan, Pakistani origin, great fast bowler, and the Kiwi veteran Corey Anderson, leading the squad really well, of course, through all the experience that he's had. But I think the real difference for USA in this edition of the World Cup, it has to be their bowling. The bowling has been really well, especially like I said, Muhammad Ali Khan, a really good bowler, but also Saurabh Netravalkar. He is a sort of match changer and game changer. Call him whatever you want to. First defeating Pakistan in the super over with his bowling, and then against India, dismissing Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli on the duck, Rohit Sharma had scored a few runs, but dismissing both of them, that's a feat to be noted. But again, another fun fact about him is he played for India in the under 19 World Cup in 2010, and he was even India's leading wicket taker. And it was because of the lack of chances and opportunities given to him by BCCI that he chose to go to the US, work for Oracle, and in the meanwhile, play cricket for the USA cricket team as well. So life comes around, I guess. But yeah, coming back, the biggest upset of this entire season has to be the USA versus Pakistan cricket match. I mean, what a roller coaster of a match, honestly. Pakistan playing decently, setting up a target of 150. And honestly, even I felt that if USA batted smartly, they could reach their target. And while they started really well, they got stuck somewhere in the middle. But in the end, it was Jones and Nitish Kumar who really rescued USA from the clutches of loss and took them to the super over, where Mohammad Amir bowled really bad, really bad. I mean, I'm out of words at how he bowled. There were so many wides, so many wides. It's You do not expect that kind of bowling from an international player who has been in the international scene for so long. Especially against a team like the USA. I mean, no disrespect. I understand in a super over you have some pressure on you, but when you're from a cricket playing country like Pakistan, you really should not feel a lot of pressure when you're playing against United States of America. Again, no disrespect, they've played really well, but I'm just saying, why was there so much pressure on him? And in spite of there being pressure on him, he did not take really well to it. He did not adjust, and he just could not cope up pressure, and ended up letting the US team score 18 or 19 runs. um, which the Pakistanis definitely could not chase, especially with the batsmen that they've sent. I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, if you're playing in a super over, you're expecting someone like Babar Azam, who is the captain, mind you, or Fakhar Zaman to step up and to hit those big shots. But you did not see that. You saw uh, Shehzad coming in, you saw Iftikhar coming in. So that was really bizarre of the Pakistani cricketing team. And we've seen a lot of criticism of the cricket team as well in the last few days. First, they lost to US, then they lost to India. Uh, so that obviously meant that they were out of the tournament. And even though they won against Ireland and Canada, it didn't really matter because USA, they won against Pakistan, which was a crucial match for them. They won against Canada. They lost against India, close, even though at a point it looked as if the USA could clinch another victory from India's hands. But Surya Kumar Yadav and Shivam Dubey, they stuck to the crease. And even though Yadav had a very bad innings, he managed to stay put, he managed to score those runs uh, and get the game home for India. But talking about Pakistan, there was a lack of cohesion between the team. It just felt that they were not a team. Their batsmen were not being able to adjust to the New York pitch. See, the thing about the pitch in New York is that it was not made for scoring high amount of runs. It really was a bowler's pitch, you know, and you could see it with the amount of totals that they've come up in on the New York pitch. 110, 120, 130 max. You saw that this pitch is not good for batting, and in spite of that, the Pakistani batters did not adjust to it. Um, Ideally, when you're playing cricket, ideally one player tries to go berserk, he tries to hit those boundaries. Meanwhile, the other player plays well, stays on the crease, does not attempt those big shots, does tries to save his own wicket, and basically build a partnership. And Pakistan did not do that. In spite of Babar Azam being a captain and him being compared with Kohli and all, uh, he performed really bad, and he scored a strike rate of 100 or something. He did not score too many runs, but he also wasted that many balls, so that made it equally worse. I mean, Virat Kohli's not had a great T20 World Cup as of now, because he's not gone into the double figures as we are talking. But even though Babar Azam has, gotten the 50 and he's hit those runs, but the fashion in which he scored those runs is what the criticism is actually for. He wasted too many balls, he wasted too many opportunities to actually score, and that is what hurt the Pakistani team. And same with the bowling, they were clueless. I still don't understand why they included Mohammad Amir in the squad for this T20 World Cup. I did not see him in the squad at all, so it was really a surprise for me, him being there. Like I say, I still don't understand the logic, but really bad state of affairs there at PCB. Talking about India had a fairly decent World Cup campaign as of now. Their game against Canada got washed away, but the other three games that they've played, really interesting games. The one against Ireland was a pretty one-sided game for India. The game against Pakistan was a very interesting one. First of all, there being rain, the game started about an hour and a half late than usual, and then India posted a total of 119. With the total of 120 needed on the New York pitch, even though it's a good bowler's pitch, you expected Pakistan to chase it, because if USA can chase down Pakistan's 150, then Pakistan can surely chase an 120 score. That's not a big deal at all. But what was really surprising is how they managed the situation, how they coped with that situation. Terrible. Uh, did not really focus. At one point, it did seem India were going to lose. Um, if you see the score predictors, at one point, India were really at 8%. Uh, it was, if I'm not wrong, Mohammad Rizwan who was playing really well, um, keeping the partnership steady for Pakistan, inching closer towards victory. But then it was just beautiful bowling from Jasprit Bumrah. You know that one wicket of Mohammad Rizwan, and soon after, the Pakistani batting lineup, one after another, they started getting dismissed. They sort of collapsed, just like the Indians did. They just sort of collapsed and ended up losing to India by 6 runs, which honestly, I was well prepared for an Indian loss to Pakistan, with heavy heart. And now moving on to the Super 8s. Now this is where the fun is going to be at. Let's take a look at how the Super 8s are lined up. There are two groups. Group 1 consists of Afghanistan, Australia, Bangladesh, and India. Group 2 consists of England, South Africa, USA, and West Indies. So, two groups. One team plays the rest of the three teams in a group, and top two teams from each group go into the semi-finals. Pretty straightforward. And that is also where the fun lies, because now, not only are we going to see USA play West Indies, but they're also going to be playing South Africa and England. Honestly, it's a great opportunity for the USA team to learn from these matches, because nobody ever thought that USA would be playing England or South Africa. Neither the English thought of it nor the Americans. So it's a really good opportunity for a team like USA to play against such high ranking teams, and it's going to be pretty interesting competition, irrespective of what the result is, irrespective of whether USA wins or loses. It is going to be a very interesting game to watch. My predictions from this group, uh, that is group 2, it's going to be West Indies and South Africa. You see, West Indies and South Africa, both of them cleared the group stage, both winning all of the games that they played. Uh, the reason I choose these two, one is they have a great team in general, as well as they have well performing individuals in them. Like I said, the players from both these teams in the recent months, they have played international T20 leagues, they've played in the IPL as well, and they've performed really well. And considering a lot of matches are going to happen in Lauderdale and in West Indies, where usually you will find a bit of a flat wicket, where it is much easier to score runs. It can be a run fest for these teams, and considering the big hitters that they possess, I feel it has to be South Africa and West Indies that go through. England might marginally miss out, or if, like I said, there is a twist in the tail, England might just come in the top two. Probably, if a game is abandoned or anything, by a point, or just because of the NRR. I don't see USA coming into the top two. Them coming in the top two of the group stage, that was a surprise. But with all due respect, I don't see. Honestly, they have nothing to lose right here. They are at the highest point that they could have been in this tournament. They easily could have gone out of the tournament if Pakistan had played well, but they did not. an advantage to USA. Uh, so USA really has nothing to lose, and they could play their best cricket, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, because again, moving on to Group 1. Now, this is a group that will be a bit tough to predict because you have Afghanistan, you have Australia, you have Bangladesh, and you have India who are playing in this group. From the first look, I feel it is going to be Australia and India who go into the top two of the group. Um, Afghanistan, even though they've played really well in the group stage, I feel um, they might just lose out. Afghanistan has a good chance of winning against Bangladesh. Afghanistan were close to beating Australia in the 2023 World Cup. So, again, this time as well, they have a very good chance. Afghanistan can beat out India. So, really, I mean, there are endless possibilities to what can happen, what might happen. But, yep, it's going to be Australia and India. You know, these two teams are invincible, kind of, when it comes to group stages in ICC tournaments. Australia, they go further, they win the trophy, but India, they are invincible if they are in the group stage. So, Indian group stage is much more dangerous than Australia in the knockouts. Um, so, India and Australia will be my two from Group 1, whereas West Indies and South Africa will be my two from Group 2. That means we are going to have a very fun semi-finals for us in the T20 World Cup. Who knows? India might face South Africa or West Indies. Australia might face these two teams as well. Really, my top four: India, Australia, South Africa, and West Indies. India can play West Indies and South Africa, same as Australia, and I've got a really good feeling about this. Going to be a pretty exciting tournament. Can't wait for the Super 8s to get over and move to the semi-finals, because that is where the exciting brand of cricket actually also starts. We'll cover all that in due time. For now, we are definitely a bit over time. This is a lengthy podcast. I will need to edit the fuck out of it. But whatever you're watching is the final draft. You know, I've already edited. So, never mind. I hope you like this video. And if you did like this video, please go on YouTube. You know, follow Aaryaman Upasni. Go on Spotify or any other streaming service that you're listening this to or watching this at. Go and follow the Aaryaman Show. Go on Instagram, follow the Aaryaman Show, where I'll be posting regular updates about whatever I'm going to do. You can also drop in your suggestions. You can drop in your feedback, whether it be in the comments. You can even DM the Aaryaman Show with your feedback, your suggestions, or maybe even a video idea that you want, or maybe even a collab. I hope so. Fingers crossed. Honestly, really, collab at this time would be fucking great. So let's hope for one. But other than that, have a great day. Ciao.